There you are. Hey there! Today I'm going to look at these pens. They are made by Ellington pens. I was contacted by the company a while ago. They asked me if I wanted to review the new pens. I said yes. I always check out the website of a company at that time, and I distinctly remember reading that the pens were designed in London but made in China. And I remember this because I thought to myself, well, they're honest about it, and I appreciate that. I have certainly reviewed pens from companies where the pens were clearly made in China, but the companies make it seem like they're not. Now, when I was preparing for this review, I went back on the website, and maybe it's me, but I can't find that specific quote anymore. It seems to have disappeared. And then I just Googled it, and I found a, let's say, rather spirited thread on the Fountain Pen Network about Ellington pens. It's a short thread, you can read it. And it seems that some claims were made by the company, and I'm not sure how accurate those claims truly are. So that led me to think, should I or should I not do this review? And then I thought to myself, I like to try to review pens and not companies that make pens. Sometimes those two things are very intertwined. In this case, I will work on the premise that when you purchase a pen from this company, it is actually shipped to you, right? And I will say, having played around with these pens for a couple weeks now, I have found them to be very nice pens. Having said that, I am really pretty certain these are Chinese pens. Some sort of OEM manufacturing has gone on there, I'm sure. And to be frank, I don't really care who designed them or who did not design them. These are the two pens that I have at my disposal, and I think it is worth it to at least have a talk about them. You can read that FPN thread if you want. I can link to it. I will try to do this and not forget. You have to make your own decisions. What I can say is, I have these two pens. They seem to be well made. They're comfortable pens and they're very pleasant writers. So that's what I have. I'm going to cover the parts of the pens. I'll do a writing sample and I'll tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it. And that's all there's to it. Thank you to Ellington Pens for sending me these. Let's have a look. Okay, so here we go with the Ellington pens. I was sent two, and that's pretty much all I have. So the box, nice, simple. I like the marble. By the way, it does say here assembled in China, right? So they are honest about that here. I will say that. So we have this pen. We have this box. I got two boxes because I have two pens, but they're identical, so I'll just show you one. You have this nice little box. I think it's a cute presentation box. There is a little pen condom. There is a little card that you can scan, and then there are some cartridges. I do think it's nice they give you those because it is a cartridge converter filled pen. The actual pen. Here is another one. I'll talk a little bit about them. I just want to show them to you side by side with the Pilot Metropolitan, so you can see it's a very similarly sized pen, and I will zoom in so you can actually see them up close, adjusting a little bit. Sorry, there we go. All right, so what do we have? The Ellington pens, there is a backstory, and I think it's in everyone's best interest that I don't go into that too much, but you can read it on the website. These two versions are the Stealth, which is an all black version, and then there is the Presidential Oath, but there are 8 finishes, and apparently the 8 corners of this octagonal shape are meant to represent the 8 finishes of the pen. They are designed in such a way that they can be used unposted for people with smaller hands. I don't know where the line is drawn, but then when you have larger hands, you can post it. And the pen was designed so that it's balanced the same way in both cases. I have not found that to be the case, but I'll get back to that in likes and dislikes. Let's, for now, cover the parts of the pen. Final thing I will say is $39.95 US. That's the price. I am going to show you this one because I think the details show up a little bit better on the gold on chrome rather than the all black. We have this finial, nice and pointy, and then we have this octagonal, it's almost like a nut around it, right? And I think that's kind of a nice detail. I quite like it. Then we have this clip. It's a simple gold colored clip. It's fairly tight. And then here we have Ellington on it, on the center band. That's the same thing for the black pen. Of course, there it's black engraving. It's maybe a little harder to read. The camera is it's difficult on the camera to make that pick up light. We have the barrel that tapers down, and we have another gold end. I have always quite liked the combination of chrome and gold, but I know that many people don't. That's obviously a matter of preference, but I thought I would just point it out. Because if I don't, someone else will. The cap just snaps off. We get a number 5 nib, which is engraved with the Ellington Pens logo. We have a plastic feed. The pen overall, as you can see, it's certainly not a huge pen, but I think it's a nice size that works for many people, and it does pose securely. And then you do have a very solid pen. It does get very top heavy because of the heavy bits on the end of the cap. As to the filling mechanism, as I said, it's cartridge converter filled. It comes with one of these converters, which I always call the Lamy style, simply because it has this flat turning knob, which I saw for the first time on Lamy pens, but a lot of converters coming out of China these days have that shape. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying, like, that's just what it looks like to me. And it is a sort of not really. It is an actual standard international connection. So you can use standard international cartridges with your pen. All right, now if you don't mind, I won't do a full writing sample with both pens, but I will do a little bit of writing with the black one too, so you can see that. It's interesting because it has a coated nib, and that always leads to an interesting writing experience. I'll talk about that in just a second. Okay, so here we have the Ellington Pens fountain pen. I don't believe it really has a model name. This I think would be a medium nib, and we have the Laban blue ink that I've always thought is a pretty nice ink. Now, as to the writing, I found it a pleasant writer. It has, for me, just the right amount of feedback, which makes for a pleasant writing experience. It's not too smooth, so that it's not slippery, it's not scratchy, it's just a little bit of feedback that lets you know you're writing with a fountain pen. And remember, camera microphone is quite sensitive to this particular frequency, it seems, so it typically sounds scratchier than it really is. There's a lot of quick browns in there. Okay, so wetness, it's really nice. It's a nicely tuned nib, not too wet, not too dry, probably on the wetter side of things, and that I think makes for such a nice writing experience, at least to me. I really found the nib very consistent, no skipping, and that is really nice. As to flexibility, it's not marketed as a flex nib, but given the price of the pen, I'm willing to push this a little bit. And as you can see, you can certainly squeeze out a bit of line variation, which I think is nice. Now, I will shut up, always a challenge for me, and I will write one word with this nib, and then I'll write a word with the black nib. This is a different ink. But you may be able to hear the difference there. This is carbon black ink, by the way. So often with these black coated nibs, the tipping ends up being coated as well, and that makes these nibs a little bit more feedbacky. Another interesting type of feedback, because I really can't say it's scratchy, you just feel more feedback. Now over time, that coating on the tipping tends to wear off just because it's scraped across the paper all the time, and then often it becomes a little smoother. Some people really like it, some people don't, but just in case you were not aware of that, if you've not really used the black coated nib before, be aware that that will be a somewhat different tactile experience. And if you really like super smooth nibs, maybe the black nib is not the best option for you. Okay, the final things I should do, a bit of reverse writing. As I said, fairly wet nib, so it just keeps going, writing, yeah. And you certainly go from a nice medium to, I would say, a skinny fine. So if you like to do that, that's fine, and it really doesn't become that scratchy. So that's really quite nice. Overall, whatever is going on in the whole backstory, etc., I'm not reviewing that. I am reviewing the pen, and I will say, as a pen, it writes nicely, it writes consistently. I've seen pens 10 times as expensive that did not write, so I have to say, both of them, out of the box, solid writers. Now let's talk about likes and dislikes. What do I like? What do I not like about these pens? I am so sick of drama in the pen world. I'm fed up with it. So I don't want to comment on, and then he said this and she said that, and yeah, as I said, there's an FPN thread about this stuff. Now, as to the particular pens, the decent writers, I think they write very nicely. I'm particularly fond of this chrome and gold one. I think it's a very pleasant writer. I have had a lot of fun using it. I find it quite comfortable. I disagree with the idea that it is as balanced posted as unposted that is claimed on the website. I just don't see it. It is certainly a nice pen unposted. Once you post it, it becomes top heavy, and the idea was that people with larger hands can post it. I do have larger hands, but when I post it, it's top heavy. So that is not really a claim I can support. There is a lot of metal at the end of the cap there, and it just weighs the pen down. Having said that, whether you post it or not post it, that is up to you. It's a pleasant writer, it's a fun pen. I think the design is quite cute. I quite like this octagonal finial on the cap. I think they look nice. They certainly write nicely. I can't say anything else about that. And for me, frankly, I think the price is fair. I know that if you were to buy these directly from China, if you can, and again, Ellington Pens claims that you cannot, that this design is unique to them, you cannot buy directly from a manufacturer. I'll work on the premise that that is true. You can't get them any cheaper than I think $40 is reasonable. As long as you understand you are purchasing a Chinese pen, as long as you understand you're not buying an upper market, like top of the segment pen, you are not. But for the writing quality that I've seen in both pens, that was good for both pens, out of the box, not too wet, not too dry, nibs that are nice and smooth, I think $40 is fair. Whether that is to you, that's a different story. You have to make up your own mind on that. I certainly have seen pens made in China then severely upsold by companies in the US that are basically $3 pens that go for $200 or more. I have seen it happen, so I think in this case, $40, that could have been a lot worse. Now, that's all I will say. I think it's a pleasant pen. I think if you're looking for a gift for someone, you don't spend too much, you want to give them a reasonable pen, I think this is a good option. They look nice, they write nicely, they come in a nice little presentation box. I look at these types of pens as this is a corporate gift. If someone is a profound lover of fountain pens, I don't know how much they will love this. But if you want a corporate gift, you want to give for someone that you might want to turn into a pen user, as we sometimes do with our pen evangelism, I think this is a good pen. I've certainly seen Chinese pens that fell apart when I opened the box. That is not an exaggeration. I have seen that happen. I opened the box and parts fell off. These seem solidly made. That's all I have. So, you can choose to fuel controversy. You can also sometimes take something for what it is, and what I see here is A simple, unassuming pen that writes nicely. That's it. Make your own decision. I hope that was useful, and I'll gladly see you later. Bye bye.